All right, folks, good afternoon. It's a Sunday, the first in the month of March. Remember the Ides of March. The Ides are here, but not gone. I'm Citizen Jones, and today on the program, Nigeria's ranking improves in Global Terrorism Index. As report says, Boko Haram killings dipped by 72%, while northern farmers lament terrorist attacks, fear food shortage in the country. Minister of Education set to inaugurate committee to renegotiate the 2009 agreement between the federal government and ASUU. And on Journalist Hangouts Weekend Special, long queues persist across Nigeria as very few fuel stations dispense petrol. But let me report that I'm hanging out this afternoon with Ike Durubon, Sam Ibemere. Sam, I greet you.
A pleasure.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Sam, it might interest you to know that Mayor Akinpelu is an Ikorodu man, Ikorodu Oga man. Mayor, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the team is ready. I hope you are. All right, just to inform you, Babajide is joining us on Skype from Abuja. Jide, good afternoon. How do you do?
Good afternoon, Citizen Jones.
Yeah.
Just fine.
Okay, we'll get to you in the course of the afternoon. All right, so let's go. You know, we begin with something bizarre and dangerous and funny and phony. Some Nigerians have seized the situation of fuel scarcity in the country to do what you might consider the unimaginable. Some viral videos surfaced on social media in which kegs of petrol were distributed to guests as souvenirs at a party in Lagos. Well, the government in Lagos never found this funny, and so the Lagos State Safety Commission and the Rapid Response Squad promptly intervened and sealed the venue known as Havila Event Center, or NIRU, for contravening public safety rules. Now, in a statement by the State Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Gbenga Omotosho, he condemned the act and said all parties to the reprehensible action would be made to account for it. But let's share some footage with you here.
Some people are taking this to the next level. Feel a souvenir. If you are not in this party, forget it. You are not chilling with the big boys. If you don't get fuel, make you come this party. If you don't get fuel, make you come this party. I can't believe my eyes. Fuel a souvenir. Mr. Blog, make it see some people get levels.
Some pictures don't tell lies, but I like to quote the American
Neither do videos.
Videos don't. There are also pictures. But let me quote the American science fiction writer Robert Heinlein. He said, never underestimate the power of human stupidity. And so you are asking yourself, what's the essence of what we just saw?
Citizen, that's madness, as far as I'm concerned. You know, our country continues to present very interesting scenarios.
To the outside world.
Sometimes I just wonder if we don't take these jokes, you know, too far. It's either that the person who, you know, put all this together, and I hear it's one lady who goes by the street name Erilu Okin, and was out to probably cause mischief or embarrass the government. Mischief on the one hand, because, I mean, you can't fathom the madness behind this kind of act. We know how volatile that petroleum can be.
Inflammables,
yes,
liquid.
Very, very volatile. Anything could have happened. I guess that's the lady on the screen there. One Chidima Pearl, or whatever she's called. So I think for me, it's just a sign of.
Mayor, are you enthralled by that picture?
It's madness.
No. This is even the picture. Even people show some cells of being tacky. But the problem is that this lady is she was celebrating a chieftaincy title from Kemta, which is a community under Abeokuta, you know. And what she has done is most irresponsible. Not only that, some Lagos State government officials were negligent, and they should be called to. They should make to account for their negligence, because when you want to do an event in Lagos State, there is something called the Safety Commission. You are supposed to pay the Safety Commission for security of that venue. What we are paying for are 2 safety officials who are supposed to be on ground to make sure that you conform to the safety regulations of organizing parties. Those safety officers were supposed to be at that party for that event. They're supposed to be at the event. Apparently, the safety officials did not come to the event. That's the part of the tragedy in Lagos State, because people pay government, people pay the Safety Commission, but they don't bother to do anything. They just collect it. They saw it as revenue generating. Because you are supposed to pay 70 or 80,000 naira. You pay government 80,000 naira. Part of it was supposed to be for the 2 safety officials who were supposed to be on ground to make sure you guys conform to safety regulations that were put in place by Lagos State government. Apparently, those guys were not there. So that is why that kind of nonsense will have happened. Avila, the roads who run Avila were most irresponsible. Because why they were most irresponsible is that they should not have allowed somebody to distribute such combustible element like that within that party. Because in this party, when you look at, because Avila, I'll tell you, when AIG Lakanu, DIG Lakanu, retired DIG Lakanu, when he did his retirement party, he did it at Avila. So I was there, so I know the hall. It's a small hall. So when you now allow people to share petrol in your hall, when behind that hall there are people cooking, there are people doing small shops, there are people doing anything, even within the club, anybody can just decide to just smoke and all that, and you will risk your investment, your business.
Do you know, you think you are watching a poorly produced home video. I'm sorry about that. But let's turn things over to Babajide Otitoju in Abuja. Jide, are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Yes, I am saw what you are saw.
So this is our country.
In the voice of Zebudaya alias 430.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So is this us?
Nigerians are shocking me with every passing day. It's like a lot of our people cannot even apply basic common sense anymore. We can't blame government for everything. We have an obligation to behave responsibly as citizens. The rate at which, the way some of us are looking at petrol, it could eventually even become part of a bride price in our country. What's the meaning of this? A woman gets given a traditional title in Ogun State and ends up celebrating in Lagos. As I've been told, even the traditional ruler who gave her that title is deemed as an illegal traditional ruler in the state. So they've had to take the legal celebration to Lagos State, and Lagos State officials were clearly negligent, because I remember when we celebrated my younger brother's birthday, they were there, the safety officials were there ensuring that everyone got into that place with their face masks on. So if you were there to ensure that people conducted their affairs in conformity with safety precautions, safety regulations, why would you allow people to stack up 10-liter kegs of petrol and be distributing to people at a party, where certainly there will be people who are smokers, who would like to smoke unrestrained. I mean, if a fire incident happened in that place, the calamity will be colossal. People will die.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So government has to de-emphasize simply setting up structures and agencies for the purpose of making money. You have to ensure that people conform to the rule.
All right,
so in this case, that has not happened, and the safety officials have to be punished.
Well, so Habila has been closed down. Sam, I'm wondering for how long, and if that would be punishment enough.
I heard the Commissioner for Information say that the government, was going to probe the entire event. We hope that there will be diligent probe and that findings won't be, swept under the carpet. We expect that, the government will make, example of all the guys who are involved in this, embarrassing situation.
The guys doling the Petrol mayor were smiling, doing it with smiles.
Yeah, because they were, in everything now, everything is like they say in the streets, is schools. They believe that they believe that they will tell people that when we did our own party, we did something that never been done before. We shared petrol and all that. So they saw it as cruelty.
All right. So in fact, let me quote Robert Heinlein again. There are no dangerous weapons. There are only dangerous men and women. All right. To our next story. Obasanjo clocked 85 calendar years the other day, and we say, love him, loathe him. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo is never far from grabbing the headlines. On Thursday, the 3rd of March, Chief Obasanjo clocked 85, as I just said, and encomium from far and wide poured in for the former Nigerian leader. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who was one of the numerous dignitaries that felicitated the former president on the occasion, described him as a quintessential leader who has written his name in gold. Obasanjo seized the moment to take part in a novelty football match in his honor. He demonstrated his fitness and told the secret to good life. Except Sam and Mayor, when you share a secret, it's no longer a secret. Absolutely. But let's watch the picture here.
Let's welcome His Excellency. Identified, Baba is taking where he's from. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Now, every other person, you have to go outside. No. Everybody wants to go outside. Please. No, we're starting now. Okay. Yeah, no, stay outside. No. Please. That's a goal. And now that's 1-1. Thank you, sir. Thank you, President Soglo. Take your seat. Has taken the kickoff to Bayojo, dribbling, and the back to Bosse. Bosse is to back to Bayojo. Bayojo is moving, and take the shot across. The first goal is taken, and that's 10. Every goal that Baba scores is 10.
Exercise. I will ask them to remember what I call dreams. One, diet. 2, rest, 3, exercise, 4, medical examination, medical attention, and 5, social interaction.
Mayor, age, according to the Magistrate, is just a number controlled by the state of mind. 85 is just a number.
No, I think President Obasanjo worked very well at it. It's even more than 85 because he told us that he didn't really know when he was born, so they just pick a date around that time. But for 85-year-old man, he's looking very well, and he worked at it because he wakes up 4 a.m. every day. He works for about an hour, sometimes 2 hours, and he plays squash in the evening. He eats sparingly. Most times he eats breakfast and then lunch, and he picks things because recently, when I was in Dubai, I discussed with Emeka Opara, I was quite close to him, and he told me that even when he wants to have his breakfast, he just picks some different things. He hardly eats much, but he doesn't miss. He wakes up by 4 a.m., he does that work in the morning, and he plays squash in the evening. He still plays squash almost every day.
Sam, you play squash?
I don't, but I have my form of exercise. I play football. There is no alternative to keeping fit, that's the truth. We all need to be disciplined about life. Too much of everything can be very bad. That's the truth.
And too little, too.
Absolutely. It was nice seeing Baba, the one we all popularly called OBJ, doing his own thing. Congratulations and happy birthday to him. He's a global citizen, very well accomplished, a patriot by any standard. Hate or like him, he has shown that he's a nationalist by every standard. Not afraid to speak
his mind
on any issue. Even while he was celebrating, he was still telling people, whoever cared to listen, that Nigeria could be worse if we don't get acts right.
Yeah, and said Jide will come to you, and he said to have made the statement. Some of the people angling for the presidency should be behind bars. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I heard him. It's a fact that we don't punish iniquity enough in our country.
Yeah.
Some of our leaders, our past leaders, will actually be in jail. If some of them were from Israel, they will be in prison now because the Israelis don't see any big deal in jailing their former leaders. So if they could jail their prime ministers, why is it that it's difficult for us to put big people, former presidents, behind bars? It's something that we need to look at as we go on as a country. But Obasanjo's legacy is intact, just as former President Jonathan said. His legacy will live on many years after his death. Many people talk about the local government administration in our country. It was Obasanjo that created the idea of the local government. When he set up the Dasuki committee at that time, the Dasuki committee came up with local government administration. Today, the benefits are there for all to see, even though we know that they are not, you can't say the local government administration is perfect. But somebody introduced the third tier of government that we are enjoying now. Don't also forget the Tinkan Island and Apapa port. It was Obasanjo that built those ports, for the fact that history is no longer being taught or has not been taught for some time in our schools. It is important that Nigerians know what their leaders achieved. Obasanjo built many unity schools. So whichever way you look at him, he's not a perfect man. There is no man born, created by God who is perfect, but history will be kind to Obasanjo in terms of the achievements that he recorded as a Nigerian leader. The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway that is being rebuilt was actually built from the scratch by Obasanjo. That was one of his achievements. So I wish him well. At 85, he's looking unbelievably healthy at 85, and God has been really good to him in terms of the way God has looked after him.
Thank you, Jide. And we say God is blessing America. In this case, God is blessing Nigeria. Is Nigeria blessing God? All right, we go to our next story. You know, a stitch in time, they say, saves 9. So to ensure that the road serving their community is given the desired attention, residents of Taiwo Adewumi Imafidon Crescent in Okwaba GRA Scheme 1 of Ifako-Ijai local government area are appealing to Lagos State government to complete the project abandoned by the contractor for the past 3 years. Here's a background story.
Residents of Taiwo Adewumi Imafidon Crescent in Okwaba GRA Scheme 1 of Ifako-Ijai local government area of Lagos State are not happy. Hence, they gathered here to express their frustration over the abandoned Taiwo Adewumi Imafidon Road project. The 977-meter-long road, which was awarded in 2018, is yet to be completed despite commencement of work in December 2019. They are worried that the project, which was expected to be completed within 9 months, is yet to see the light of day 3 years after. They staged a peaceful protest over the issue, with placards displaying various inscriptions. The chairman of Okwaba GRA Scheme 1 Residents Association, Ayobade Obajimi, wondered why the project has been abandoned when the state government is not owing the contractor.
About 20 years ago, the government awarded a road project for us, but unfortunately it was abandoned halfway. And since then, we've been doing self-help, constructing a lot of roads by ourselves and drainage all over the estate. We did it ourselves. The main gate, Ayofani Mokun, and a lot of road networks were through self-help.
They urged the state government to prevail on the contractor to return to site and complete the road project before the rain starts.
The contractor will come for 1 week and go away for 2 months, and another rainy season is approaching. So I appeal to government, after thanking His Excellency, Mr. Sanwo-Olu, is for him and the team, the Deputy Governor and the Special Advisor Works and Infrastructure, to compel the contractor to come back to site and complete the road. We are aware that government has done the needful. Government has paid everything that should be paid in tranches, but the contractor is not performing. So all we want to save us from agony is we are appealing to the Lagos State government to compel the contractor, Riviera Resources Limited, to come back to site and complete this project. The rains are coming now, and we believe that a road of 9 months that is going beyond 3 years is not the kind of thing our governor would like.
The residents expressed trust in the administration of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu to intervene.
Sam, I think government, well, contract should be like the game of football. You kick and follow. In this case, from the report, the contractor has been paid. So where's the problem? And Jide talked about nobody punishing bad behavior.
That's why I'm bothered, citizen. And I feel pained, hearing the team lead at that event saying the contractor should be compelled. And I'm trying to reconcile all that. How do you compel someone who has been fully mobilized and paid? I mean, that was an open admission. The man should be made to face, the consequences for his action. That's the way I look at it, because urban renewal remains a challenge for most of the governments in this country. So for a government that is doing all that it could, to get the environment in proper shape, just like Sanwo-Olu is doing in Lagos, his efforts should not be frustrated, because that's what I see at this point. That's what I see at this point. I think the contractor, beyond being compelled, should be made to see reason, and where he defaults, should be made to face the law. He's collected money for it. He's been totally mobilized. So what else? Should the residents go on their knees, or should the government go on its knees to to plead with him to get the job done? Except it's probably somebody who is very influential, or probably part of the administration. Otherwise,
and so
why should he be? I mean, his name was mentioned.
Yeah. So what?
He should be made to do what is right. The government has done the needful.
Yeah, Mayor.
I acknowledge that the government of Babajide Sanwo-Olu and the one of Ambode before him did very well when it comes to inner roads. They did a lot of inner roads. Part of the problem in Lagos was that our inner roads was in state of despair, but the two administration did a lot of inner roads. I don't know the government that awarded this particular contract, but I know that when Ambode started his...
If the man talks about 3 years ago, obviously you could have gone back to Ambode's government.
Yes, that's because why I was saying that is that during Ambode's time, when the first set of inner roads I did, 2 in each local government and LCDA, they gave it to the chairman of the local governments to do. I'm aware that part of the contracts were awarded to senior party officials to do those roads. You understand? Right. So if that is the case here, it could be that a top party, not government, party official was given the road to do. But I want to appeal to the governor that there's a difference between the party and the government. If any party official has been mobilized and was given a contract and he defaulted, it must be paid. It must be made to pay for whatever he has done. It is not acceptable for government to want to
improve the life of citizens.
To improve the life of citizens and do inner roads, and then they will award contract to somebody, and for whatever reason the person will not do it. It's unacceptable, whoever the person is. So the government should do the needful, because it's the state money, it has been mobilized, it must be made to do that or refund that money that he has been given.
And the hit is on the chairman of the local government.
Absolutely.
Because the man on the street every day would sing the chairman of the local government as not doing anything.
That's the person they get to see. And of course, government is meant to be a continuum. I mean, you can't just fold up your arms and say, raise up your hand in surrender and say, I wasn't involved. I mean, he has to lead. And I think that the very good thing that has been done is that government is being held accountable, speaking up and telling government that this is wrong and the solution needs to be found to it. I think that for me is very important.
All right. After all, governance is all about making life a lot less cumbersome for the government.
And comfortable for citizens.
Okay. Well, let's take you to Kano now. Let's go to Kano. In politics, number is power, because the majority will always dictate the pace of the political race. So if you cannot bring more people into your fold, don't lose the ones you have. That seems logical. And the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Kano State is fighting hard to keep one of its pillars. Former Governor Rabiu Kwankwaso, the PDP chairman in the state, Shehu Shagagi, urged the party's leadership to enlist the support of former Senate President Bukola Saraki to persuade Kwankwaso not to defect from the party. According to him, his exit from the PDP might spell doom for the party due to its strong political structure in the state. But how do you bail the cat?
I agree. Kwankwaso is a very popular politician. Apart from President...
I hear he has a movement.
That's what I'm saying. Apart from President Muhammadu Buhari, no other politician in Kano has the structure and the cult followership. He has this movement called Contractor, and it's the only one that had that kind of structure. But you know, it is person that holds power that is powerful. So the governor of Kano State, Governor Ganduje, has been able to muzzle people like him and Shekara, because, like I said, the person that holds power is the one that is powerful. But you cannot deny the fact that he has that cult followership. Don't forget that he used to be in APC. When they did the primaries of APC, he came second. You know, after President Muhammad Buhari. So he has that structure. And if, for whatever reason, PDP allow him to defer, because it was in the news that they were trying to plan an alternate platform.
It's there. The platform is out.
Yes, but because the INEC said a couple of days ago that they're not going to register new parties before 2023 election. So I don't know how it's going to do it. So that means they have to go to an existing party or something. But PDP must do everything possible to make sure that, it doesn't leave the party. If it leaves the party, then they don't even stand a chance in Kano at all.
Come on. Sam, in politics, 2 times 2 is 22, not 4. So anything is possible.
Anything is possible, especially within our climes where, sometimes or oftentimes we don't get to play by the rules. And what politicians are basically chasing after are the numbers. So for me, I think what Kwankwaso has done is to position himself ahead of 2023. Because if you have the numbers, then those who are interested in the coveted position will be looking for those who they can partner.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't get the ticket, then he can as well, be approached, for some kind of partnership. I think that's essentially what his move, is intended to achieve. Because as our colleague said, he can't get the party registered at this moment. So it's either he remains within PDP or leaves for some other platform.
So sometimes you cannot help but wonder why the money is moving.
Politics is an interest-driven game. It's about him first, okay? And there are people who live off politics in this country. You ask them, what do you do for a living? He tells you, I'm a politician. Meaning that's where he gets his daily bread from. So that's what it is.
All right, Jide, I know you've been following these stories for a while now. It must strike you as something interesting if he moves from the PDP to where now? To where? And what becomes of the APC in the state?
Well, it is clear that Kwankwaso and Shekarau cannot be in the same party. So that's why Shekarau is in the APC and he is in the PDP. Now, in the PDP where he has found himself, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Aminu Wali, does not seem to agree with him. They are bent on frustrating him out of the party. When the PDP had the zonal Congress of his party in Kaduna, supporters of Kwankwaso and those of Aminu Tambuwa, the governor of Sokoto State, clashed. And the center has not held since then. While he would not want to go to APC because he has many adversaries there, he has been frustrated in the PDP and he knows that there's no future for him there. So he and some of his friends have formed the New Nigeria People's Party. NNPP. Well, you and I know that a little over a year to an election, you cannot come up with a new party and expect to win. As popular as President Buhari is, he tried it in 2011 and he was well beaten. He only managed to produce a governor with the CPC. So to win an election, you need much more than your popularity. You need structures across the states, across local governments. President Buhari couldn't do that in 2011 and he was well beaten. Kwankwaso would not go far in the NNPP. And I do not see Bukola Saraki succeeding in convincing him to stay in the PDP as the chairman of the party in the state has suggested.
Yeah.
Kwankwaso has made up his mind. He has announced that he will be leaving the PDP. But it is clear that for now, he cannot go to the APC because himself and the governor, they are not really on good terms.
Of course,
and,
yes. Of course.
He also has Shekarau. He has Shekarau to contend with. So he's in a valley of decision. He either remains in the PDP or goes to a party that is not likely to win anything significant.
Thank you very kindly, Jide. Gentlemen, I hear in politics, they say when you leave the room, don't slam the door. You might want to come back in.
Yeah, I think probably what he will do is to, he will leave PDP because he won't get anything in PDP. But he's trying to get a platform and negotiate with that platform to form like an alliance with a party.
Yeah.
So what do you think he wants? What does he want?
Power, of
He
course.
wanted to be president. He has always wanted to be president. He's a former governor.
In fact,
he has always wanted to be a president.
In fact, at the launch of that, the movement in Abuja, I recall vividly seeing Galadima and the rest of them saying that, saying Kwankwaso for president. I mean, they didn't hide it.
No, that's
the entire
the
agenda is about Kwankwaso for president. So how he's going to achieve that is probably a game plan some of us are not privy to. But he wants to be president.
Thank goodness Sam is keeping you guessing. So keep guessing.
We can.
All right, that's it. Ours is to mold opinion for you. What next for former Governor Kwankwaso? Let's watch and wait. Okay, we go to our next story. You know, it's mixed fortune for Nigeria regarding the state of insecurity in the northern part of the country. While armed banditry appears to be festering in the northwest, the country is gaining one upper hand in the war against insurgency in the northeast. According to the latest Global Terrorism Index, GTI, Nigeria has moved to 6th place in the ranking, following successes recorded in the fight against Boko Haram insurgents. Now, the country dropped 2 places from 4th, a position it has occupied since 2017. Published by an independent and non-profit think tank, the Institute for Economics and Peace, the latest GTI indicated that Nigeria, Syria, and Somalia are the only countries amongst the 10 most affected by terrorism to get improved score from 2020 to 2021. Meanwhile, some northern farmers are lamenting over continued attacks by terrorists, forcing them to abandon their farms. According to them, if the attacks are not checked, production will be affected and a food crisis may hit the country soon. Food crisis.
Let me start by saying that I want to congratulate our soldiers.
Okay.
For their dedication, for their sacrifice, for their professionalism. Yes, we've criticized them a lot of times, but we cannot deny the fact that they'll be able to achieve a lot in the Northeast when it comes to insurgency. A lot of things accounted for that. One of these is improved equipment. Since the Kano just came in, things have changed.
I heard they have
it turned out to be a game changer. Second was the infighting between the structures among the insurgents. You know, when the ISWAP leaders decided that they wanted to unify the insurrection and they killed Shekarau, who was the other faction of Boko Haram. You know, because there was no leadership for the Boko Haram faction, a lot of their soldiers surrendered. They were in the Sare, surrendered. Some of them joined the bandits. Some of them surrendered to the government. And then we were lucky that when it comes to ISWAP, soldiers were able to kill the leader of ISWAP. And then the person that was appointed to replace him was also killed, which affected them too in terms of structure and leadership and all that. So we'll be able to push them back. And when they were doing what they were doing, we criticize our soldiers. Now that our soldiers have improved, we are not out of the woods yet.
Yeah.
It's just that we are better placed to coordinate what we are doing in Northeast, and also to be able to, and then certain things also help us in achieving what we have achieved. For the farmers, the problem with the farmers basically has to do with the bandits. You know, because all over Northwest, the bandits have taken over, and they are not allowed, and the government seems helpless. Again, what we are going to do is to tell government to do more than what they are doing, but most importantly, to change the strategy that they are using now. You cannot fight bandits state by state because it's a mobile force. If you fight them in Sokoto State, they will move to Zamfara State. If you fight them in Zamfara State, they will move to Niger State. And so you will continue to just waste your time. Yeah. The best way to fight these bandits is for government to provide the resources and take them on at the same time. Yeah. You must take all the states at the same time. That's just so that they won't have opportunity to move from state to state. It's either they surrender or they move out of Nigeria.
Sam, my worry at this point is a food shortage, a food crisis on top of what we have.
Yeah, it's real, you know, and we're all facing the consequences. The prices have gone up. In fact, Nigeria's inflation, you know, report is all built around the prices of food and all that. It's a very difficult one. Government is doing whatever it can, you know, to ensure that we don't, drop into a situation where we're talking about food insecurity and all that. But you and I know that this is all built around how safe our environments are, not just in the Northwest, the Northeast, North Central. It's a growing challenge where bandits have taken over, a large part of territories and laying taxes on citizens. If you don't pay, you can't go to your farms to harvest. So it will seem like a vicious cycle, but government must respond to it. I mean, we've surrendered our powers to government to take care of us. That's what it is. We just have to find more creative ways to deal with it. It will seem to me, let me just delve into this a bit, some kind of situation relief for government that this report has come in. But even the Global Terrorism Index report says that even though the number of deaths has come down, the number of attacks has also gone up.
Yeah.
So what has come down is just number of deaths, but it does not say that the number of attacks against ordinary Nigerians is not on the rise. So we just have to live with that fact. And government must find the will to deal with certain things. We've had stories about, we know who they are, we know who their sponsors are, but government doesn't seems to lack the courage to want to pick on these people, name them, and shame them. So we must find a way to deal with certain things. Mayor has talked about the need for a coordinated, response to the entire challenge that we have in the security sector.
Yeah.
We just must find a way to deal with it. Food security is a huge challenge. We've seen, the display of bags of rice in Abuja and all that. But how much of that is impacting on everyday, living for ordinary Nigerians? We want to see, the claims made in the area of, agri-revolution impact Nigerians.
All right, Jide, so let's get back to you. Jide, these are not laughable. They are not laughing times for us. We're still in the woods. I cannot imagine a food crisis at a time like this, even when we are bothered about insecurity here and there.
Yes, the food security, insecurity that we are facing is largely because the major food belt of our country is in the Northwest and some parts of North Central. And these are areas where bandits are running rampant. We've made progress in the Northeast, no doubt about it. The death of Shekau in the hands of Abu Musab al-Banawi has really helped. It wasn't our troops that killed Abubakar Shekau, neither were they the ones that killed Abu Musab al-Banawi. After killing Shekau committed suicide, seeing that he had been surrendered in the Sambisa forest, one of his loyalists who had fled to Cameroon came back to Nigeria and continued to run the group because a good number of them were reluctant to join ISWAP because they felt that those of them who were commanders in the Boko Haram group would become ordinary fighters if they joined ISWAP, especially given the years of animosity since the Boko Haram group broke up in 2016. So the new leader led his fighters to Abu Musab al-Banawi's habitation and fired him. He died as a result of his injuries. I've heard a few journalists say our soldiers took out Abu Musab al-Banawi. That is not true, and not even the army will publicly claim that they killed Abu Musab al-Banawi. Well, the truth is, the infighting within the groups resulted in the weakening of the Boko Haram group, whereas ISWAP has become even more dangerous because the ISWAP group is the group that had the better weapons and is the group that consistently takes on the military. So Shekau's group is very weak at this time, and they used to have far more attacks, especially on civilian populations, more than even ISWAP, because ISWAP, never believed in confronting civilians, but fighting civilian JTF, the army, the police, and other security agencies. So the infighting within them has made the two groups weaker, and that is why we are seeing less attacks. But the fact that we have seen less attacks does not mean that the groups, or less deaths, does not mean that the groups are still not dangerous. More and more people have been kidnapped in the last 2 years than at any time in the history of the Boko Haram insurgency. Boko Haram initially, or the ASUU, were really not kidnapping people. But these days, they kidnap people and expect to be paid hefty ransoms. So those ones may not have been calculated among terrorist actions taken by both groups, but it is dangerous all the same, because a lot of our people find it difficult to move, especially within Borno North and the highway Maiduguri to Damaturu, because ISWAP continues to kidnap people over there. What we have seen from this report is that in terms of terrorism, this Global Terrorism Index focuses more on what is happening in the Northeast, because they see what is happening in the Northeast as terrorism. Whereas a good number of what we have seen happening in the Northwest can actually qualify to be terrorist attacks. If those ones were seen as terrorist attacks, then these figures will be a lot higher, because they are talking about 69 deaths. Some of the things going on, attacks on communities, killing of people, especially in Kaduna, Zamfara and other places, are terrorist actions. You come into a community, you burn down the community, you kill people. That's terrorism. But clearly, in their computation of terrorist actions, those areas, the things that happen in those areas were not listed as terrorist attacks. So if they were listed as terrorist attacks, definitely these figures will be a lot higher, and Nigeria won't be in 6th position. We probably will be competing between 2nd and 3rd. So it's not yet uhuru for us. We made progress in the northeast. I'm happy to report that. But we now have a very big problem on our hands in the northwest, which we have to deal with. Every day we get reports of people's communities being burnt, people being killed, people being kidnapped on the road, in the northwest and north central, especially Niger State, which is Nigeria's largest state, at more than 10,000 square kilometers. So we've got to realize that whatever progress we make in the northeast, if we do not focus on the northwest and deal decisively with these enemies of the Nigerian state, Nigeria will increasingly become more difficult to live in for our people. Our people can't access their farms. People work hard. At the end of the day, they can't even reap their hard work, because these guys would rather demand that they pay levies or before they can harvest, or even take their lives. So we are seeing even more states in the northwest now coming into the picture because of terrorism and wanton killings that are going on there, especially now Kebbi State. Kebbi State, like 2 years ago, was not really in the news for attacks by bandits. But we are seeing that happening, and we are seeing students being kidnapped. I see kidnap of students, innocent students, and marrying them off to bandits as pure terrorism. But as I said earlier, those ones were not even listed among terrorist acts by the Global Terrorism Index. So we've got to really work harder in the northwest.
Mayor, security is something we cannot begin to hold long conferences about. You talked about government going the whole hog.
Yes, we have to do that, because the problem that we have in the northwest and some part of north central is, like I said earlier, is because, one, we have allowed these bandits to be able to come up with something that is profitable to them. And when people make money or they get rewarded for certain things, You understand? They will be encouraged to do those
That's
things.
it.
They kidnap people. In some areas, they impose taxes. In some areas, people have to pay them to be able to go to their farms or even live in their community. So they're able to...
somehow we make their lives easier.
Yeah, so they're enjoying. They use that money. Yes, they use that money to buy good equipment to be able to fight the army. They'll be able to recruit people. Even some of them, government officials go to beg them to be able to give them relief or negotiate with them and all that. We have to realize that, look, we must not reward banditry.
Oh, yeah.
We have to face them and stop the nonsense they are doing. And we have to do that by showing enough resolve to be able to do it. Government is not showing enough resolve to solve that problem. They know what to do. What they are just doing now is cosmetic. And they cannot achieve anything with the way they are fighting the bandits.
Sam, makes you begin to wonder if somebody somewhere is gaining from all this rubbish that's going on.
Mayor has just alluded to that. What we have on our hands is an industry, with what appears to be value chains along the line. People get to supply bandits, there is some kind of business, going, including prostitution. So what are we talking about? People the bandits get drugs, shipped to them, they get fuel shipped to them and all that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
a whole industry, and that industry is what we need to break.
Until that cycle is broken.
Absolutely. So question, who is benefiting from it? A whole lot of persons. We've talked about government's, seeming lack of will, to deal with these things. Names have been mentioned. Okay? We've heard names, being bandied here and there, and nothing is being done. We're told something people are going to appear, and be prosecuted. We are yet to hear about, such action being taken in the court. So a whole lot of issues. We must be sincere. Government must be sincere about its decision to confront, the security challenges that face the country.
Once and for all.
Once and for all. We don't really have a choice about it. And I dare say that, in spite of all that has been said, we agree. Tremendous progress has been made in the area of infrastructure and all that, but the Buhari-led administration must understand that one key legacy it must leave for this country is in the area of security. If he achieves everything and security fails, then nobody remember whatever good he has done to the country and the economy. That's the truth.
Okay, and this is just to remind the viewer that journalists Hangout will take the issues based on the facts available to us, mold opinion, allow you to make up your mind. And we're talking about insecurity in the country, more so a threatening food wahala, food insecurity. If food security becomes a top problem, then we are damned.
Yes.
Then we are damned.
Yes. We can't add that to our problem. We have enough problems.
Oh yeah.
Now when we already declared the poverty capital of the world, and then you add the food crisis to it, then I wonder what the appellation would be if you then add that to an already bad situation. So.
Yeah. Okay. It's only natural to ask at this time, where do we go from here? Jide, you like to take that on? Where do we go? What next? What next to do?
No, we have to come up with the right strategy to deal with banditry in the north, especially Niger State and the states of the northwest. Apart from Kano and
I think Zamfara is in the mix.
States of the northwest are reeling under attacks by bandits. A lot of the killings going on there don't even get reported. It's unfortunate that a lot of those killings don't get reported. Bandits will storm markets on market days, do what they like, and walk away. Bandits will set ablaze people's homes based on information that the people had the guts to set up a vigilance group, because they don't even want to be confronted in any way. So they see the vigilance group members as threats to their activities. So we have to come up with the right strategy. Some of what we have talked about here repeatedly, I heard the governor of Kaduna State talk about them recently. The need for us to have simultaneous military campaign across those areas that are dangerous. When you go to Niger State, for example, many people were happy that the Suleja-Minna highway was safe. But last week, that Suleja-Minna highway was taken over by bandits who operated for a long time. Not only did they pick up construction workers, they also set ablaze vehicles. Now, until now, they never got on that road. And that is the road that leads people mainly from the Federal Capital Territory to
Niger.
the Niger State capital.
Yeah.
Because the airport there is not really active. So how do people get to the state capital if bandits have now made it a duty to stay on that highway and kidnap people? Many local governments in the state are even no-go areas as we speak. Especially even some of them bordering states, a state like Kebbi, for example. That's Munya local government. Now, close to Kwara State, Mokwa, we are now seeing attacks by bandits in that area. Again, before now, the area was considered as safe. So, we need to stop these guys having the feeling that they can operate with reckless abandon. We have denied Boko Haram the right to operate when they like. And that's why the attacks have come down. Attacks on military bases have come down. They know over there that if they try to move, to Kano jets will scramble into the air and deal with them decisively. But in the northwest, that is where we need to do a lot of hard work.
Thank you.
Otherwise, hunger will result from all of this.
Okay, we are joined now by Elder Dari. He is in Kaduna. Good evening, Elder. Good afternoon.
Yes, and to the guests in the studios and to Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. Good afternoon. You see, let me start from the rear. The political will is not there. If not, our gallant men and women can deal with this menace. But be honestly speaking, they can deal with this menace. But the political will is not there. I mean, we have a whole lot of retired men and women in this country. If the security has gone beyond the president, call for a meeting of those retired men and let them profess solutions. I mean, is it not laughable that we are having a retired general as the president of Nigeria and thinking security is keeping all of us up? We can't go to, our children can't go to school, we can't go to farm. I mean, on we're being harassed, and in our homes, we can't sleep. So what are we saying? What are we saying? Let's just, and to even make things work, let me meet with some of these gallant men and women one-on-one. They too,
thank you, Elder. Thank you, Elder. Thank you. Mayor, so we say all hands on deck. We talk about information volunteering, very key here. Nigerians don't seem to have that habit, give information where information is needed.
I don't agree so. I think it's because the government has not done the needful. They didn't put, if you don't put a structure in place, you cannot expect, to be able to gather information from people. There's no way you could get it. There was a time this government introduced whistleblowers. For some time, it worked because they were getting information from different accounts. Nobody is hearing anything about it now. So it depends on it depends on what you put on ground. And that is why our intelligence forces have to do more than what they are doing. You understand? Because it's not rocket science. I may not be a general, but it's not rocket science to be able to handle the issue of banditry. One, we allow it to fester. We should have contained it much, much earlier, but we didn't take it seriously, and we allow it to fester. Now it has become a major problem for us because the government do not have the will. Two, they do not have the resources to be able to confront the problem. Because like I said earlier, like Governor Rufai said, what they are doing now cannot work. If you know one or two things about military warfare, it cannot work. The only way things can work, and they have to look for the resources to be able to do it, is to mobilize enough soldiers, have enough equipment, and take on all the states in the northwest and part of north central simultaneously. That's the only way it could work. And it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of will, which the government doesn't want to do. And they just think that if they close their eyes, the problem will go away. No,
come on.
It won't go away. The only way we can stop the bandits is to show superior firepower.
Yeah.
And push them far into Sambisa forest.
And tell them you cannot have.
You cannot. Yes, you cannot do that here.
At least
but
not
if we do this, part of the problem is that it took us a long time to really see them as terrorists. You know, people were going to them. People were trying to appease them. They were looking at them as if they are just thugs who just want that wants money and all that. But these people are terrorists. They are bandits. It's a major business for them. They are making a lot of money from it.
Sam, there's a particular terrorist in Sokoto State who got eulogized by a musician.
I was going to say that.
Turji.
Yeah, when Mayor spoke, they become celebrities. I mean, when people come around and conduct, praises, around individuals, they become, big boys. And well, I don't know about ladies now. They become big boys. So it's very disturbing. Okay, we've gotten to the very sad point where criminals are being celebrated, and then the young ones who ordinarily should see these things as evil I begin to think we should emulate these people.
Enamored.
Yes, they're excited. They want to go out. They want to be like them. That's the sad thing. And we have a huge recruitment ground, and that's why they find it so very easy, to get people on their side, especially the youth. Beyond singing their praises, these guys want to pick up arms and also make money because it comes so easy, as it were. But we can't allow this to fester. It's going on for too long.
Yes. Look at the communities. They have motorcycles.
They operate mostly with motorcycles.
Freely unhindered.
But look how harmed they are. In a country that has a government, the primary duty of government is protection of life and property. And if the government think they have done well in infrastructure or they have run the economy to some extent, if they fail in the issue of security, then they have failed.
That's the only Nigerians remember.
Because that's the primary duty of government. They have failed.
You can
if you like do all the infrastructures that you want to do, if you cannot protect the lives and property of your citizens, if people cannot go to their farms, if people cannot live comfortably in their community, if some bandits can just come to a village and just sack everybody and burn houses, if walking on Nigerian roads become a problem, you understand? If you cannot travel from the Federal Capital Territory to a big state like Niger, then the government have failed. That's the bottom line. If they lie, let them build railway from here to Kafacha. They have failed.
Jide, as we make to bury the subject matter, it's not all gloom. There's a way out of this mess, don't you think?
Yes. Hopefully, we can achieve total victory in the Northeast. That's a matter of time. I don't want to put a timeline to it because insurgency is not predictable. But at least we've made significant progress in that part of our country, and we can continue to make progress. The GTI reported that for 2 straight years, Cameroon recorded more Boko Haram attacks than Nigeria. Now, this group is based in Nigeria. If it is going outside of our country to attack people in Cameroon, it means that it is becoming more and more difficult for them to operate freely here. So that's good news, and I congratulate our armed forces, especially the current leadership of the armed forces, for working together for the synergy that has made that evident progress possible. I also congratulate the commanders. Some of them put their lives on the line. The Jata commander, Operation Lafia Dole, and his men. It's not easy. That we are seeing more and more of them even come out to surrender is good news, because the more they surrender, the weaker they become. So we have to sustain that momentum in the is so that total victory will come our way in the fullness of time. But as I've said earlier, the latitude that these guys have to operate in the north central and northwest has to be challenged.
Yeah.
Now they are even attacking people, especially in the north central. They are going to churches to kidnap people. They are kidnapping people in their cars because it is now more difficult to attack schools and kidnap students. They like kidnapping students because they know that that will definitely give them front page news and it will draw the attention of government. But when they attack bus passengers and the rest, many times they don't even, such attacks don't even get reported. But if they attack a school, the media will take it over, report it, and give it the attention that it deserves, and draw the attention of government to that attack. A lot of our people get kidnapped daily that government is not even aware of.
Yeah.
So we have to come up with the right strategy, come up with the equipment that we need. We must continue to equip the military so that they will be able to turn the heat on these guys, especially in the northwest.
All right, so that's it. Again, let the debate continue, but we'll take a breather now, go for a break, and return for the rest of Journalist Hangout. Please stay with us. All right, then, let's talk education now, and why not? You know, since 2009, we have moved back and forth on the vexed agreement between the federal government and university lecturers. Yet, it appears we're still on the same spot regarding the matter. The agreement is about to be renegotiated. Minister of Education Adamu is ready to set or inaugurate a 7-man committee to renegotiate the 2009 agreement between the federal authorities and ASUU. That will come on Monday. That's tomorrow. Now, the committee is expected to turn in its report in 6 weeks' time from the time of inauguration, whereas ASUU had on several occasions accused government of failing to implement the agreements both parties reached. So how do we get a guarantee that a renegotiated one will not suffer the same fate?
I think the problem in our educational sector has to do with lack of leadership. And I put it squarely on the table of Mr. President. I think the President is not supervising his cabinet very well. So there are a lot of ministers that are not doing the needful, they're not up to speed in how they should run their ministry. The problem we have in ASUU now was that there was an agreement in 2009 that was negotiated by this government. An agreement was made between ASUU and the government as to what they were going to give ASUU.
By the government at that time?
No, 2009 there was an agreement which was not implemented. And then when this government came in, 2015, they started they renegotiated, and they made some agreements to pay ASUU certain allowances and some money.
A memorandum of action was...
They agreed. But now, the problem they have now is that the government is not able to meet the agreement that they had with ASUU. And the Minister for Labor and Employment said, oh, the government is broke, we cannot afford to pay what we agreed, so we need to renegotiate it. I don't have any problem with government renegotiating things, but it's showing incompetence. Because why it's showing incompetence is that if you are head of a household, not even government, if you're head of a household, you want to negotiate with somebody outside your home in terms of monetarily, you will know what you have in your house. You will call your wife and say, okay, how much do we have? Your wife will say, okay, we sold this one, I have this amount, you have this amount. What we have is 10 naira. You cannot have 10 naira and go and negotiate that you're going to give somebody 20 naira. That's irresponsible. So before they started the negotiation with ASUU, government will have been able to know what they could afford and take that to the table to negotiate with ASUU to say, look, this is the position we are in. We cannot afford this X amount of money that you are asking for. This is how far we can go. And in this particular year, this is how much we'll be able to add to it. You understand? Before you now agree and sign an agreement. But you cannot sign an agreement with somebody and then you now say you don't have the money to execute it. That's irresponsible. That's irresponsible. Because now they want to do now what they should have done when they had the last negotiation. That's what should have done. Because how can you have an agreement with somebody and then you now come up to say, no, yes, we have an agreement with you, but we don't have the money to execute that agreement, and you will have to renegotiate it.
Sam, you see, if you're counting with me, today is the first Sunday of March 6th. This government terminates on May 29 next year. So you're talking about 14 months.
Right.
You are wondering if this is a ploy to buy time, or am I empowered to think widely?
Guess why I'm smiling? You're asking me if I'm wondering. I mean, we all know that this is all part of the game. There are very serious issues around trust. You have a government that signed, a bill into law, woke up, a week or two after and says, no, we're not going to execute it. It's going to be 16 or 18 months from now. And you're dealing with an ASUU that has had a very sad experience, with government since 2009. So the question to ask is, why should we trust government at this time? A government that ought to put a committee together, in a month, and didn't do that until after 6 months. And you had a minister who, tried to make us believe that the reason, we're not making progress was because he took a leave to go and treat himself abroad. And so you wonder if we're really very serious about it. So I will agree with you beyond, what I had said earlier, that this is just about buying time.
Also, it seems.
I'm convinced that it's about buying time. And that's the truth, because these are politicians. In the next 1 or 2 months, they're all getting ready for their primaries and all that. You think they're going to have all the time for all this? So the fact of the matter is that you have an ASUU that has been terribly, terribly disappointed over time, as it regards government promises and not being able to keep those promises and all that. So it's really, just like, just as, Mayor said, there's a gap. Ministers have been on the same seat for, some of them for 6-7 years, and do stuff, and nobody's asking questions. So it's like it's a given. Whether I act rightly or wrongly, I'm sure that my tenure I'm going to be there for the whole of 8 years. And education sector is taking a battering.
Yeah.
We saw what happened a few weeks back between the minister and the students. You ask yourself if we're really very serious about getting this sector back on stream in an era where we're talking about the knowledge economy, and we're joking with us. So we have a situation on our hand that we cannot pretend anymore. I doubt if ASUU is impressed by this call for renegotiation, and I'm concerned that nothing will come off it, because this is an association that has been once beaten.
You are not adjudging or prejudging.
No, I'm just worried that over time, government has not shown enough sincerity, about dealing with this issue and putting a closure to it.
Mayor,
so why should we believe them at this time?
Mayor, mine is, why would the minister tell us when in 2009 a 1.3 trillion naira agreement was reached with government? They had money at that time.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it was not.
And so
it was not
why
done.
are we keeping the thing till now to tell ASUU we don't get money?
No, that's what people saying. Apart from the 2000, that's what I'm saying. When this administration came in 2015, they renegotiated with ASUU. If you remember, there was a long strike of ASUU at that time.
Yeah.
They renegotiated with ASUU, and they came up with agreements. You understand? For a long time, they had the problem about template, how to ASUU came up with one, they came up with another, and all that. Eventually, they agreed, and all that.
The problem of IPP.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They had that issue, and then eventually they agreed, and they have an agreement. But my own problem is that when you want to have an agreement with your government, what must have happened? Apparently, what must have happened was that an agreement was made with ASUU. By the time it got back to government, the people in charge, maybe the finance people that are in charge of the money, said, where do you people expect us to get this money from?
Nothing there.
Then where do you expect us to get this money from? No, we don't have the money. Where do you expect us to get the money from? You understand what I'm saying? But what I'm saying now is that is not how a government should be run. Before you proceed in that negotiation in the first place, you will know what the government can afford. And you'll be able to stand your ground with ASUU to say, look, we have to be honest with you. This is what we can afford. This is how we are going to go on. This is how we can add to it. At this point in time, we'll be able to add to it. Everybody will agree. If they didn't call up the strike, it's another matter. But by the time you have an agreement with ASUU, in God's name, this is government. It's a matter of trust. You cannot a very critical aspect of our natural life. Then you take it for granted. You just believe that what they will do is that they will strike again. We shouldn't be doing like that. We shouldn't be doing that. It's not. It doesn't show seriousness because you had an agreement.
Mayor, do you remember the minister even telling us that he was shocked that the ASUU decided to proceed on work to rule action? I mean, telling us that he was shocked. So I think that we should just
and the Minister of Labour
understand that
the Minister of Labour, with all respect to him, Minister of Labour and Employment, has this arrogant way of negotiating with people who have issues with them. You understand? It's like, well, if you people want to, this is what you want to do. That's it.
No, but
it should not be like that. Because there are a lot of kids that are home that will spend 6-7 years to do a 3-year course. It shouldn't be like that.
All right, there's an intervention here. Olushola is reaching us from Ijebu-Ode. We might as well just take him. Olushola, good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon, citizen.
Yeah, I greet you.
I really appreciate what you're saying. During the era of Babangida, when my boss, Omolayole, was an advisor, I gave this advice that all the companies in Nigeria should be able to give at least some percentage of their profits to fund education. And that is part of the thing that brought the TED funds that we are using today. Now, let me now come to terms. The government have not taken education seriously in Nigeria. And it is because there is an alternative for their own children. My take is this, that if everybody will have to study here in Nigeria without having to take their own children to another place, education will improve. I retired from the university and I know exactly what it is all about.
Okay.
These people are not serious. And a nation that cannot...
When you say these people, which people now?
I'm talking about the government.
Okay.
The federal government. They are not serious. Because, one, they all of them know that the percentage that are allotting to education is so small.
All right.
Small.
Olushola, many thanks. We got it first time. Well, let's go back to Abuja. Jide, we have been at this particular topic, ASUU and government, over time. We're sounding like a broken record. But again, it's talking education. Can we ever exhaust anything about education here? No.
No, it's about what our priorities are. I've spoken before about a world leader who was asked to list 3 priorities of his country and went on to say education, education, education. Because the knowledge economy, even the service economy that is generating so much money for the US, for example, it is down to education. People come out of school and they come up with inventions that shape our world, make our world better. Look at all the money being made in California. California's economy is several times bigger than Russia's economy. And that's a state in the US. Do we really want to get to that point? I'm not sure that we are serious about getting to that point. Now, when you get into agreements with people, people should be able to say that your word is bond. A situation in which you get into agreements with people only to think it over and tell yourself that, oh, we shouldn't have signed this agreement. Nobody does that. Since December 2020, there was a memorandum of action signed with ASUU. And the government has refused to implement that memorandum of action. And it knew at that time, when it was signing that, ASUU merely suspended the strike. It didn't call it off. So when you suspend, you reserve the right to resume the strike without notice to your employer. And that's what ASUU has done now. Now, government set up the Musa Ali Jibrin Committee. Musa Ali Jibrin used to head the Universities Commission. They set up the committee led by Musa Ali Jibrin to look at negotiating emoluments, condition of service of ASUU. Musa Ali Jibrin's work, his report has been ready for months and months. The government refused to implement the report of Musa Ali Jibrin, a man that government by itself appointed. Now, they are talking about now renegotiating, because clearly the Minister of Labour has told us that government has not got the money to implement the 2009 agreement. But ASUU is saying, look, there are two issues. If you can implement those two issues, we will go back to work. And that is the issue of UTAS replacing IPPIS. Because the IPPIS is not flexible enough for the university system. The IPPIS will not allow you to work or do sabbatical in any university outside of the university that employed you. That is not how the university system functions in Nigeria and everywhere else. So this lecturer said, okay, let us have an alternative. You agreed to an alternative, which is the UTAS. But after government agencies tested the efficacy of UTAS and affirmed that UTAS was good enough, you still refused to implement and forcibly enrolled everyone into IPPIS. Now they are saying, give us the UTAS and renegotiate our condition of service. Those are the two demands that they are making now. And they are saying, if you can implement those two demands, forget the others that we have been talking about for years. We will go back to work. Just these two demands are looking like impossible to meet for government. So it's really disappointing that we've had to always talk about this ASUU thing. But in my view, agreements are meant to be fulfilled. Once you get into an agreement without a gun put to your neck, then you are obligated to honor your word. That is not what we are seeing. These lecturers have been on the same salary for 12 years. Many of us accuse ASUU of being selfish. But how many of us will agree to be on the same salary for 12 years? A university professor earning 418,000 naira a month. That is entry-level salary of some people in our country. Entry-level salary for workers, for some workers in our country. Yet we have places where, even within government, where people receive extortionate wages for doing nothing. So this problem is not that difficult to resolve. Get these workers, get these ASUU members, get them to a round table and honor your word. Those two demands that they're asking for, do your best to implement those two demands so that they can go back to work. You can implement others later, but they are saying at this time, just implement two. That shouldn't be impossible to do.
Yeah.
If we value public education. And what ASUU is demanding for is not even for them alone. All those demands, how many of them have to do with money for themselves alone? Public university system is dying in our country. But there are many people who would not have acquired degrees today if they were not able to go to federal universities. A lot of them are ministers today. Their parents didn't have money to send them to private schools. Not all of us can send children to private universities. The public universities have to be saved from ruination. When we save the public universities from ruin, then we'll be able to allow the children of the poor to at least have access to education.
Okay, Jide, thank you very kindly. Sam, you know, while we're discussing the ASUU Federal Government imbroglio where we have a situation where new universities are being approved.
Obviously.
Is that not confusing?
It's not. Just for patronage, political reasons, you know.
Okay.
Basically, that's what it is. Not because these fresh universities are going to bring so much to the table. Because most of the existing ones, especially the state universities and the federal universities, are not getting the right funding and the right support.
Yeah.
Some of them not even have the right faculties. Okay? So, yes, it's important, but we must agree that this is not just going to be about numbers. It's about quality. So if you set up a university, one or two in your state, and you have it properly funded, put the right faculties in place, then you can then say, yes, you are investing in education. But you don't put institutions, schools all over the place, and none of them is fit to pass any of the NUC standards.
And Mayor, it's even sickening to know that in the first 500 universities on the planet, none of us is there.
Yes, it's because we don't value education. It depends on what your priorities are. One of the best administrations that we've witnessed in this country was the government of Obafemi Awolowo in the old Western region. Education was free. And it was the engine that that administration was built on. And they achieved so many things in the old Western region. If you don't value education, you will not apply enough money to it. You understand? And our public schools used to be very good.
Oh, yeah.
When I went to University of Lagos, we had good hostel. Our meal was, I think, 50 kobo at that time. And you eat jollof rice, you will take ice cream, you will take things. Nigeria used to be good. But over time, people believe that they are not interested in that. They prefer other sectors where they will just waste money and steal money. You understand what I'm saying? So if you don't invest money in education, you will get the kind of university that we have.
Oh, yeah. Garbage in, garbage out. All right, Olatunji is reaching us from Kefi in Nasarawa State. Olatunji, welcome. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Citizen.
Yep.
And let me also...
Go on.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Citizen. You and your team, you are doing a very wonderful job. Likewise, Mr. Otitoju Babajide, he has been so wonderful on issue of ASUU government impact. Yeah. Issue of the federal government ASUU disagreement is becoming a disappointing issue to we Nigeria. If you look at the way our Nigeria system is, if not for the struggle of this great union called ASUU, you will find out that our Nigeria university system will have been like a glorified secondary school. Most of the infrastructural, projects that you can find in Nigeria university today is being sponsored by State Fund. And State Fund is being vetted based on ASUU struggle. If you go to, most Nigeria universities, it's very rare for you to see any project that is being sponsored by government, if not outside State or need assessment. And I believe these ASUU people have been doing wonderfully well.
Yeah.
They need to be appreciated. They need to be encouraged. And government should not just be, and I'm so surprised some people are also looking at ASUU people as a selfish people.
Olatunji, we thank you very kindly for your intervention. Okay, so that will be all on ASUU federal government brouhaha. But for me personally, trusting our education to the Aluta community and the federal government's way of doing things will not help us. There's an answer. I think they can meet somewhere in the middle. Don't you think so?
Yes.
There's a middle point.
It's easy. When you said that, those people said, look, apart from the agreement that we have, we just implement 2 of those agreements. We will go back. Then we can be discussing the other thing. How can that one be difficult?
There has to be trust.
All right. So let's talk about the one you and I know, Petrol. As a country, we possess the knack for making simple things complex and making that which is complex simple. That's a little bit funny and phony. It's the irony of how we live as a people. What started as a mistake about a month ago has become a monster visiting untold hardship on almost every citizen. The fuel scarcity caused by importation of bad petrol into the country in early February has degenerated into a crisis. As long queues persist across the country, to top it all, petrol now sells for about 250 naira per liter. And even so, only a very few fuel stations dispense the product. In this Journalist Hangout weekend special, TVC News' Nelson Etta gives us an update. Let's share that with him.
Fuel scarcity, an epidemic that has become entrenched in the life of Nigeria, a country reputed to be the 6th largest producer of oil globally and number 1 in Africa, yet plagued by a self-manufactured virus, scarcity. With barely no refining capacity for the estimated 1.6 billion barrels consumed daily, Nigeria's colonial-era refineries are in an absolute moribund state, leaving the country with no choice but to export its crude oil and import refined petroleum products for daily use. Subsidies amounting to billions of naira are paid to fuel importers to sustain fuel importation. Study shows that Nigerians between the ages of 18 and 70 have at some point in their lives groaned under the agony of fuel scarcity. That represents approximately about 53.77% of the total population of Nigeria. The first major fuel scarcity was recorded in 1996 under the General Sani Abacha-led military regime, and then in May 2007, just as President Olusegun Obasanjo was leaving office and President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua was sworn in, and under President Goodluck Jonathan also in May 2015, while he was preparing to hand over to the incoming government of President Muhammadu Buhari, and under this present administration in 2017, 2018, and now 2022. That is about 26 years of an excruciating pain of fuel scarcity in the life of Nigeria. In Kaduna, long queues leading to motorists spending several hours even into the night at filling stations just to refuel their vehicles and continue with businesses.
There is a lot of lackadaisical attitude of government towards ameliorating this kind of problem. This is affecting our economy. This is affecting the entire Nigeria. Here in Kaduna, they are selling fuel in some of the privately owned filling station at the rate of about 350 per liter. But even with that, the queue is still very high.
My flask here, I came with it yesterday night because I will need the fuel. The fuel is 2,000 naira in Nigeria now, 1 gallon. So I cannot afford it.
I slept here yesterday night. Since 10 p.m. yesterday, I've been on the queue. It's now about taking fuel. It's actually terrible.
In Kwara State, north-central Nigeria, residents are wailing under the excruciating pain of fuel scarcity, with the pump price as high as 250 naira per liter, as well as hike in the price of goods and services.
A nation with oil that we couldn't produce our own oil for ourselves. And that's actually what brought us to this level. I wonder why we consider ourselves as oil-producing nation and we couldn't have a functional refinery, let alone of talking about importing adulterated fuel into this country. That's actually brought us to this level.
Price is high, it affects a lot of things. Even the pure water, sachet water of 150 per bag is now 250, 300 naira per bag. Allowance titles that we used to buy at 400 naira per one is now 1,000 naira, 1,200 per one. I think it's because of the effect of the fuel, because when you ask them, they said everything is cost. They don't see things to buy at easy, transport and all of that.
From the northeast Borno state, residents cry out against the hardship this has caused, including hike in fares and commodities.
Masses are dying on this issue of petrol. We can see federal government are allocating huge money to some things that are not important as this. We voted them, we expect them at least to have mercy on us, but we are suffering. If you look at this queue, some people are here since 6, and the place the station were not open until 9:30. And unfortunately, those that are in queue, they are there still. In fact, some of them, they even slept here since last night. If you go to town, you say 260, 270, 280.
The situation of fuel is scarcity in the metropolitan is so high. But the problem is this, I think it's only this mega that is selling fuel. Some other filling stations, they are selling it 260, 240, the cost of it.
From River State, South Nigeria, it is survival of the fittest as residents struggle to gain entry into the NNPC mega station just to buy at the official pump price of 165 naira per litre.
Up till now, there's no change. We're not happy. Look at how you're shopping for fuel. There's no fuel. Everything, the food at everything get high. Where are we going? Let the president help us. Let them help us.
I'm a taxi driver. Since we left school, there's no work. So we resorted to taxi. So it has not been easy. It has not been easy on my side. Because one, if I do go to work as a road taxi driver, I won't get income.
In Osun State, southwest Nigeria, Governor Boyega Oyetola has set up a committee to work with independent petroleum marketers in the state to address the problem.
We have set the ball rolling, and there is a committee that has, been set up by the governor through this meeting, and through that, all hands will be on deck 24 hours to make sure that results begin to roll in as soon as possible.
For NNPC to bring product back to their confessional depot, which is depot like NNPC Depot Ibadan, Musimi and all others like that, to resolve the issue quick, because what we are buying from private depot is outrageous. They brought the product back to NNPC, nobody will increase the price. And when we take it as normal price, we sell at normal price.
While in Lagos State, commercial transporter Samuel Ojo and businesswomen Itunu Ojo and Nwamaka Inwoha vent their frustration over the task of getting petrol.
Some of them will be selling 250. In my area, I bought 300 naira per litre 2 days ago. The filling station started selling around 10 o'clock. And as a matter of fact, he even wrote on the meter that is 300 naira per meter. That shows that the 320 naira the federal government is projecting, we are getting there gradually. Do we have any choice now? The way I look at the whole thing, it's like the federal government want to increase the fuel, and they want to put us under some hardship that by the time they increase it, we don't have any choice down, just to succumb to their decision.
Coming out this morning, I've visited different types of gas station. I've been to Mobi. In fact, I bought, before I got to this place, I bought diesel at the rate of 5.45 at Mobil. You know, the price to fill the 60 liters before is now the price to fill just 30 liters.
It has been so terrible. For the past 2 weeks now, I've not been able to go to the market because of the inflation of prices, and even transport, because what I do, I normally take my car to the market. And because it has been so difficult for me to get a fuel, even to queue on the line, times I will leave home as early as 5 o'clock to be able to get fuel. And at the end of the day, before it to get to my turn, they will say they are no more selling. So I'll end up going back home, doing nothing for that day. So it has been like that for like 2 weeks.
While the promises of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, of easing the pain caused by protracted scarcity of the product by releasing enough supplies into the country is yet to be seen nor felt, Nigerians are again left to find a way to survive this untold hardship in hope of an intervention by the government.
I personally cannot thank Nelson Etta enough for that report. But let's start from Abuja. Jide, we are here. So just the other time we were thanking the Buhari government. This wahala with petrol supply had never cropped up until February this year. So we are in it. Are we in it for, not for good?
Actually,
we're in it.
Actually, it's not true that under this regime, we've not had fuel scarcity. Go back to 2017, go back to 2018. It even lasted months, because at that time, marketers were reluctant to import the product because they were being owed subsidy payments. So before NFPC took the decision to begin to import by itself, we had long period of fuel scarcity, and it took the Senate a public hearing where the marketers said, look, the problem is that NNPC did not have enough stock. Go and check the record. Supply had tapered down for months. So later we discovered what the problem was. So under this regime, 2017, 2018, we had serious fuel scarcity. But when people talk, they give the impression that it had never happened. I mean, that is not being in touch with history. We've had this kind of problem before, even longer than this, under this administration. This one, yes, we know how it happened. Yes, some people brought in off-spec petroleum into our country. But we expected that by now the problem would have been solved. It's already about a month. And we kept receiving assurances that the problem will last for only a few days. Just some days back, the NNPC GMD was telling us that they had 1.7 billion liters of petrol in marine and on land. So if we have that much, tell us how much you have on the high seas and how much you have on ground, so that we know that, yes, indeed, this is just going to last for a short while. So if we have all of that fuel stock, why are we facing this problem? One of the reasons why we are facing this problem is because major marketers, rather than supply independent marketers who operate on a smaller scale, the major marketers are selling the product at their own filling stations, whereas they are supposed to also sell some of this to independent marketers. That's why many of the filling stations do not have petrol. And then, of course, the monitoring, the capacity of NNPC to monitor and ensure that once product gets to filling stations, they must be sold to people. It's really not there. Some of these people receive a product and refuse to sell. Some would rather sell at night. That's why Nigerians are suffering. I've had to buy 10 liters for 6,000 naira in Abuja for me to be able to move around. It is that bad. It's even worse in some parts of our country. So how can we have a country that is one of the biggest oil producers, yet we do not even have enough to feed to supply our people? It's really difficult to understand.
Yeah, thank you, Jide.
But this suffering, NNPC must find a way to mitigate this suffering or put an end to it, because it's worsening the predicament of our people. We are already the capital of poverty in the world. So the longer this lasts, the more difficult it will be for our people.
All right. Thank you, Jide. Sam, look at the facts on ground. The number 6 producer of oil on the planet has 4 refineries, and as a result of man-made wahala, we're in this mess, avoidably.
Why don't they just call the wahala corruption?
Oh, okay. That's
what it is.
Okay.
And we must admit it, and this has been said at several fora. NNPC is not being run transparently. That's the truth. And so when we're told that the reason for the scarcity was because we had off-spec, supply and all that, some of us were not fully convinced. And I mean, the chicken the chicken has come home to roost. That there could be some other reasons for this scarcity.
Yeah.
All right? Logistics and the rest of it. But the fact on the ground is that we've not run our petroleum industry, transparently.
Yeah.
A lot of fraud, and that is why the subsidy issue, continues to, rear its ugly head. And this is an industry where Mr. President continues to hold on to the main portfolio. I mean, he's the Minister of Petroleum, so he can't pretend, he can't shift this blame to some other person.
If you had an independent, a different petroleum minister, it would have changed the dynamics?
It probably wouldn't have changed, because it doesn't rubbish my earlier argument that institution is not being run transparently.
Okay.
But somebody has to take responsibility, and that's Mr. President, because he holds that portfolio. I mean, we don't want to pretend that that is not real, and that is why some of us are not convinced that whatever probe that the government has promised will yield anything.
Okay.
Who is going to probe who? Because they are interested parties. We're not just being sincere. We're not telling ourselves the entire truth.
Mayor, former President Obasanjo, who we saw earlier on, was the substantive Minister of Petroleum Resources. So the problem has been a long time coming.
Okay. Let me start by saying that, again, it's failure of leadership. The President is the minister, the substantive Minister of Petroleum Resources. He has failed the country. For 7 years, he has been the Minister of Petroleum Resources, and he has failed us. 1. 2, we have 4 refineries. None is working. Yet they are paying salaries. They spend over $200 million.
You mean at the refineries?
None is working.
No, salaries at the refineries?
Yes, they are paying salaries of the workers in those refineries. And they spend over $200 million, around $270, $280 million, to do turnaround maintenance in those refineries.
Have you learned nothing?
If that is not corruption, what is that? You use turnaround maintenance to do that. The simple truth is that government has no business with business. We saw it during the time of Niger, and it didn't work. When it was deregulated, we could see what is happening to our telecommunication industry. Dangote is building the biggest refinery in the world in Lagos. It's not rocket science. It's just because people in government are so corrupt, and people in NNPC, they get away with it because the man that is the substantive Minister of Petroleum Resources cannot supervise them effectively. Because in NNPC, the scam that they do in NNPC, that's why they know that the scam will soon go over. They will soon end when Dangote refinery come on board. They know, because the biggest scam in NNPC is fuel importation. Because when they import fuel, they will tell us, oh, the thing has increased to 100 kilometers. Well, that is what we are spending, and we have spent 1 trillion naira or something billion naira on subsidy, and we know, it's not as if we think. We know that subsidy is a major scam. There was something in the National Assembly where people during the time of Bukola Saraki, when we saw that a lot of people collected subsidy without supplying anything. We know that the subsidy is a scam. And every time the volume of the petroleum that they claim we use every day keep going up because we have to spend more on subsidy. And then I found it unbelievable that we have the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria as Minister of Petroleum Resources. And then we have Silva as Minister of State. We have NNPC. And that we can import a fuel into this country that is off-spec. It will get to the port. Nobody inspected the ship.
Pre-shipment?
Yes.
Not even
pre-shipment. Then the ship itself to check that this thing is what should be supplied. Then it was discharged. Nobody checked that this thing was what's supposed to be supplied. Then it was dispensed to to petrol stations, and nobody checked to see that this should have been. Then when it now got to petrol stations and it was affecting people's lives, they now say, oh, we're sorry, it is because some people brought up that we are going to do something about it, but don't worry, we have something that we are going to bring in and all that. And they could not do it because they are actually incompetent. They are an NPC, they are only interested in making money. And why you have that scarcity now is because most petrol stations, because the ones that they were supposed to sell, they could not sell those ones because they have to recall those fuel. So you have to now supply new people. And then usually the chains, it takes time. It takes a lot of months to put those logistics in place, because by the time you give fuel to this depot, a lot of people will come and then queue to get that fuel from everywhere. You understand? This particular petrol station, for example, you may get your fuel now, it may take another time for you to get your fuel. So that is the problem they have. They are all those independent marketers, and a lot of those they do not have fuel. It's NNPC retail.
Mayor, I see you are hot, deeply hot.
Yes,
more hot than Sam and myself. Sam, in closing, you're looking at the days ahead, and can you conjecture when you think this wahala will go away, if it will, soon?
I think we are going to live with it for some time to come, and here are my reasons.
But do you know, in Akwa Ibom, my state, you don't have queues.
They could come to, I mean, probably they have sufficient stock.
They
have sufficient stock at the moment.
Yeah.
So if you travel to some other places, you can find
cars in Akwa Ibom. How many cars do you have in Akwa Ibom?
I beg.
That's where supply.
How many cars do you have in Akwa Ibom?
That takes care.
How many cars do you have in Akwa Ibom?
You should have asked how the draft car there. I beg, leave all that, please.
Yeah, so we're celebrating. As at Friday, Brent was selling for about $118. Okay? But the downside of it is that the landing cost of fuel in this country is put at about 303 naira. Now, what that means that if you go to a regular filling station to buy fuel at 165 naira, government subsidizes that purchase by 168 naira. And of course, that is not sustainable. So if you ask me how long more are we going to stay with this, I think we can continue to bury our head in the sand and expose our behind. The fundamentals don't look good. We must live with it. And that's why I'm worried that the government will wake up and say, no, we're not going to execute certain plans that we have signed, agreed to, until after our administration is gone. We need to be able to ourselves.
Ibemere, you are not alone, because the supreme irony of life is that hardly anyone will get out of life alive. So,
true.
So me, I won't follow you there. So let me thank Mayor Akinpelu for coming.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you were so vexed,
Because this shouldn't be happening.
No, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Just calm down. I want to thank Jide in Abuja. Jide is not too miffed today. He was quiet. I just like that. Jide, good night. Good night. See you tomorrow. Sam, thank you for coming. And of course, I want to thank the Backroom Boys. On behalf of everybody, we say thank you for listening and watching. Join us later on this evening. If you miss this broadcast, at 11:30 we'll be on. Of course, the regular journalist hangout show resumes tomorrow at 5 in the evening. Join us. Happy then. And we're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Citizen Jones. Bye-bye now.